All
All right.
right, we're on ODD with
Okay.
Danny from Israel. Elaine's going to start reading.
I'm a single mom with two amazing kids. You can read my story of domestic abuse in the section about CPTSD. Here is how it affected my son. I married at 17, had my daughter at 18, and my son when I was 20. As a result of violence and emotional abuse in the marriage, I got a divorce at age 24 and moved to a different part of the country to start a new life for me and my children. I had been introduced to the three principles by my coach, Hannah Studley, which helped me to stop reliving what had happened to me. My flashbacks and PTSD symptoms went away. Understanding how thinking works changed my perspective, stopped the victim thinking, and helped me start over. My son was 11 when we moved. He was always a happy kid, always running around, a very happy, energetic kid. After we moved, he was okay at the beginning. He went to a new school and seemed to be fitting in, but I could tell he was less happy. I think looking back, he had put on a happy face because a lot of our life had been very scary. My ex-husband had visiting rights, so my kids had to go see their father every 2 weeks. And although we don't know exactly what happened, there was some physical abuse when they were younger that I didn't know about. It was the law that they had to see him, even though they didn't want to. I was dealing with my flashbacks and PTSD at the time, so I did my best to take care of them when they were with me. After we moved and I was doing so much better, I think my son felt he now had a safe place to let his emotions out. It went in stages. He started to become depressed, staying in his room most of the time, spending a lot of time on the computer, not wanting to go to school. He ended up not going to school for about 6 months. This was very hard on us all, as now we have to have visits from social workers. And my ex-husband used to blame me. It was a very difficult time. My son was now 12 and had grown very, very big and strong, so I couldn't challenge him physically. He was completely nocturnal by this point, sleeping all day and staying up all night on the computer so that he was only talking to his internet friends who were much older than him. When he would talk to me, it was aggressive, and I struggled to know how to help him. Eventually, he said, "I'm so depressed, I don't want to live." As a parent, this was terrifying, obviously. I didn't know what to do, but the difficult part was that I understood. I knew what it was like to not want to be alive, but I had my kids to keep me going. What was I going to say to him? I couldn't guilt him into living for me. That's not good parenting. So at first, I tried to talk to him about why and what happened. And then I realized that this is not going to help because going deeper into the problem didn't help me. In fact, it made me worse. I did my best to just be with him and show him a physical presence, that I was there for him, but he wasn't very responsive. I was coming back from college one day when I got a call from the mother of an old friend of his who said that my son had hurt himself trying to commit suicide. I raced home, absolutely terrified. He had cut himself badly. It was clearly a cry for help, and I didn't know what else to do but take him to the hospital. They took him to the youth psychiatric ward. I thought I was going with him. He was just 12, but they told me to leave. It was very confusing. I didn't know what was happening, how long he would be in there, or anything. I found out later that if they suspect suicide, they can just take your child, and I had no rights to stop them. And they wouldn't let me take him home. They didn't explain any treatment to me and literally had to tear him from me with both of us screaming. I went home crying and terrified, but calmed myself a little as I thought it would be for just one day. They would calm him down and I would go back tomorrow to get him. I came back the next day, but he couldn't talk. He was so drugged that he couldn't speak. He couldn't even stand up to say hi to me. And when he did talk, nothing made sense. They diagnosed him with oppositional defiance disorder, ODD. Because I was in law school, I ran home and read up on the law and consulted with my professors who said, yes, this is the law. They can basically jail him with drugs. He didn't get any emotional help and was basically told, if you don't behave, you will be drugged and have to stay here. And they wouldn't let him go. He was in there for 4 months.
Want me to
I
take
went into the
over?
hospital. Hmm?
Want me to take over?
Okay, go ahead.
I went into the hospital every single day and fought very hard not to have him on drugs. He was fainting, so I saw many doctors, signed lots of papers, and insisted that they have his heart tested, and it showed that the medication they were giving him was giving him a heart arrhythmia. I told them that if he wasn't violent and not a danger to anyone, then I do not authorize them to give him any medication. I took him aside to where the doctors couldn't hear, and I told him I was sorry for bringing him there, but the law says I cannot get you out, so you must behave in this way so that you can come home. It was so hard because we were both stressed and upset, but we both had to fake it to get him out. I was the only parent who showed up every day. The hospital managed to convince most of the other parents not to come, and so I talked with the other patients, mostly girls with eating disorders, and what I saw was that they just needed love and attention. But all they were getting was drugs and punishment, like a military boot camp for children. My son is very intelligent, and so he figured a way to eventually convince the doctors to let him go. I think what helped my son in the end was seeing that I would not let go. I fought for him and was there for him, and I couldn't have done that even if I'd been stuck back in my own traumatized thinking. I think he felt the fact that I wasn't going to give up on him gave him desire to live again, and he was able to come home. Now I teach both my kids what helped me, that I don't have to keep reliving these thoughts. When the memories come up, I hug them, we cry, and it passes. I've shown them that it's okay to have feelings and that we don't have to fight them, as it will just make it worse. I learned that feelings are not the problem, and my kids see that now. Yes, we feel sad sometimes because of what happened to us. We feel them, and then it goes away. Both my kids are now doing really well. They are happy and able to handle their emotions. My son is going to school, he has a girlfriend, and we have a great relationship. I took my kids to my college one time as I was getting an award, and my son told my professor that he wants to be a lawyer. I am so proud and excited to see what amazing adults they're going to become. Wow.
Wow. I'm just going to read a few lines there. That was just so,
Yeah.
highlight them. I've showed them that it's okay to have feelings and that we don't have to fight them, as that will just make it worse. I learned that feelings are not the problem. And now my kids see that too. Yes, we feel sad sometimes because of what happened to us. We feel them and then it goes away. Yeah, and I love the part about how right before that she said, when the memories come up, I hug them, we cry, and it passes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've experienced that in my own life, hugging myself sometimes, metaphorically.
Yeah, and it like I'm always struck with, your little kid wakes up with a bad dream and it's very real. There really is a monster in the closet, mommy, and he's going to eat me alive. And your mom crawls into bed with you and hugs you and holds you and you know, let's
Yeah.
let's just let she may not say the words, "This will pass," but she just hugs you and holds you, and you fall asleep, and you wake up the next day, and you're like, "Look, can we have pancakes?" It comes and it
Yeah.
goes. So there's just some sort of innate wisdom that we already know how it works, that things do pass, and we make things up, like there's a monster in the closet that's going to eat me. And it's not making things up like we're crazy. It's just that it seems very real. And I believe you that you're scared out of your wits and you want me to crawl into bed with you. I believe you, and I'm here. And
Yeah.
after a nap,
So
it's
natural.
gonna pass. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, how natural that is.
Yep. Yeah.
And to be
That's
able to see like our nature and have these conversations. And now, this amazing book written about it
Yeah.
all.
Right. And the fact
yes.
that we've been operating with a misunderstanding of how things work, that grown-ups also have bad dreams. And we're dreaming, oh, this could happen, that could happen, this could happen, that could happen. And we're not right here, right now, snug as a bug in a rug in our own beds or wherever we might be. We're not, living on the streets. We're not dying of cancer right this minute, right?
Right.
And so it's so interesting that we all know it, but yet we were conditioned or trained or educated to forget it. And we
Yeah.
were given, and I don't think maliciously, they call it an innocent
No.
misunderstanding, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
malicious, but it was didn't serve or doesn't serve humanity well to forget what's the truth of how it all works. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Just reminded all the time how fortunate we are that, we're witnessing this evolution where we have so much more understanding about how humans function
Mhm.
Mhm.
through mind, consciousness, and thought. You could call it anything, but it's the description of how we work. And oh, I'm writing up a story about something that happened to me this morning. I won't, take any time here, but maybe I'll share it at some point. Boy, talk about, feeling our anxiety and then knowing that, and it was automatic. I took a deep breath. I felt so much better. And then that prompted another deep breath and a third deep breath. And I was like, okay, I'm going to forget this problem and I'm going to go and be early for my gym class. It was so automatic. I didn't have to try to do anything. But I know that's because I've been reading this book with you and I've been around this conversation for a
Right.
long time. So,
That's like, again, another realm of like, oh, I keep sneezing and I'm starting to lose my taste. I think I'm getting a cold. Darn it. We go, all right, well, I'm going to put some Vicks Vapor Rub under my nose. I'm going to go out, make sure I get a lot of orange juice, and I'm going to buy some soft tissues for my nose because I know it's coming. But we don't go, well, this is never going to be different. I will always be sniffling. I will always feel miserable. This situation will last for the rest of my life. We know that that's not true, that it comes and it goes, and you're like, ugh. And you're like, oh, I'm having a crappy mood right now. I think I'm just going to get in the car and go to the gym a little early. Like, I am having a crappy mood. I do have a cold, but it's not going to last forever,
and I'll
right?
tell you what, if that happened, the phone call that set off my anxiety with uh, an insurance company for a client, had that not happened, where they pass you from one department to the next, and I could feel the anxiety, you know, and I would say a recent past, I would have stayed anxious and I would have tried to call them again. I got disconnected. It was actually my fault. And, innocently, in the past, I don't know how recently, but I know in the past I would have gone, darn, and I would have stuck to this was a story on ODD, but I mean yeah, oppositional defiant disorder, but I have my own, I get into my own, you could say control, right? Obsessions, compulsions. I'm going to call them again. No, I said, great. I'm going to get to the gym early. I'll call them tomorrow when I have more time. And, just to be able to realize, wow, I live in a different life than I did, who knows when, before I had enough of this understanding. It's like you can't get enough of this understanding. It never
Mhm.
ends. It just
Right.
keeps growing, and then you see it in life. I
Mhm.
love this.
Mhm.
Yes. This particular story is very validating for me for when I worked with kids in residential placements, and had this book been out, like it would have been awesome for all of those young people, because we were allowed to restrain them And basically the restraint was a form of love because those kids, they so desperately just needed love.
If they could
So
have just been held, right?
right. Well, when I'm restraining them, I looked at it. I mean, I'm not holding them. It wasn't the violent type of restraints that we used to do in the past. So I would just give these kids bear hugs. I would bring them down to the ground and just hold them, just
Oh, that's great.
with lots of love, because that's all they really needed.
Mhm.
I don't know if I ever shared this with Elaine, the therapist, and Wendy, the nurse, on this particular call, but in 1980-ish, I had just moved to San Francisco and I got a part-time job at Children's Hospital, Stanford University. Most people in the US and even elsewhere know Stanford University is an Ivy League. It's big. And it was at back then called the Milieu Unit,
Yep.
or it was the psychosomatic unit. It was a milieu, MILIEU, in psychosomatic unit. Most of the children there were anorexics. And I was, they were lucky that the head of the department was wonderful. He was very patient and understanding, but he did not see, what we're seeing today as far as holding rather than restraining, because there were restraints that happened. And I
Mhm.
participated in one of them, holding an arm, somebody else held an arm, somebody held, I don't really remember, it was a long time ago, but it did not feel right. The
No.
Yeah.
child was upset.
Yeah.
I was pretty young. I was in my 20s and I was just doing what everybody else was doing. Like that's what was done here. And so how innocent being involved in that sort of thing. I know that psychiatry has been totally wanting to help people, but so much misunderstanding that we're
Right.
now seeing beyond.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every field has an evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
No
Yeah.
more bloodletting, no more putting
Right.
leeches on people, what was in the past in
Right.
medicine,
Right.
so.
Right. And I was struck by the fact that Elaine, you said a couple times, all these kids needed was love. So I would hug them and hold them, and all they needed. And it strikes me that word all, I don't know it's all that they needed, but they couldn't do anything else without that.
Yeah.
They have to have that foundation of love and safety and security in order to be able to hear or hear themselves think or whatever. But when you're just running around like a chicken with your head cut off, there's nothing that can be done for you, or you can't do anything for yourself. But to feel that love and security as a foundation, I'm sure they had things that they needed to learn about how the mind works, or what happens when they drink alcohol all weekend, or what happens when they smoke a lot of dope. It's not all they needed. So I'm not trying to correct, but I was struck by that you can't do anything without love and security at the bottom. It's like
Yeah.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You just
Right.
need food and water, and you can't process anything else without that. And so it's the only thing, quote unquote, that a therapist or a therapeutic environment should be going for is love and security. It is the
Mhm.
only thing. And so if we can get them there, then there's more to be revealed or more to be built on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
So the next one, do we move on? We've got time for another.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Enuresis.
Annalise.
You want to read or Annalise? I
Go
Yeah.
can
ahead.
read.
Go ahead, Lori.
Sharing personal insights and stories with people is one of my favorite ways of expressing who I am and how to understand the mind better. However, this one I'm sharing with you today is about my daughter, Annalise. Before I get started, a little bit about me. My name is Nicole Wilson, and I am a Floridian, born and raised. I'm also a mom, sister, daughter, friend, mentor, and teacher in my community. I have worked at a nonprofit organization called the Spark Initiative since 2016, where we help people of all ages understand the power of their mind with a simple but transformative awareness of their thoughts, feelings, and innate well-being. Through our programs, we help people uncover their resilience and unleash their potential so they can see their true health regardless of outside circumstances. I have to say, working here has definitely been a transformative experience for me personally. It has helped me have more love for myself, more compassion for others, and more patience being a mom. Anyway, I can go on and on about how amazing that knowledge is and why you should look more and more in this direction, which you probably are because you're reading this book. However, I do have a story involving my 5-year-old daughter that illustrates why this works great even for small children in times of stress. Since my role at Spark is leading our classes in the community, I am constantly learning and using my personal insights to impact my daughter's awareness of her mind. Well, at least I try to. Over the summer, I was given the opportunity to lead Spark classes at a children's center working with little ones from ages 5 to 10. Using our Spark mentoring curriculum, the Young Child Edition highlights an adorable character called Curious the Dragonfly, who helps children navigate through their feelings and better understand their spark. In parentheses, well-being inside. The spark inside is well-being. I was so excited to be a part of this because it meant I could bring my daughters along with me, and my daughter along with me, and she could be a part of this because it meant, and she could hear something new for herself. It was a win-win. While she attended a handful of classes that I facilitated, I wasn't sure what she was hearing or if she was even paying attention. It can be hard to see insights with little ones because they usually stay so present and connected to their well-being. We really only grow away from it as we get older and are more influenced by thought. Either way, it was hard to notice my shift with her. One day she took me by surprise and showed me that she had heard something. Annalise had been having accidents in her bed during the night, which is known as enuresis. We tried everything to prevent them from happening. Alas, it continued. One morning, she woke me up crying. I could hear the stress in her voice as she told me she had wet the bed again. Given all the times it had happened that week, I'm sure she could feel my frustration as I hobbled out of bed to clean her up again. I know my state of mind didn't help her feel much better about it. She continued to cry, feeling so ashamed of herself. Once I snapped out of my own frustration, I could see how hard she was being on herself and feeling her guilt for letting me down. It broke my heart once I put my feelings aside. As a mother, it's hard to see your child feel like that, regardless of the situation. Once I snapped out of my head and into my awareness, I immediately felt compassion and understanding toward her. I said, "Hey, sweet girl, it's okay. You can cry all you want. You know it's okay to be upset, right?" She stopped and looked at me like a light bulb had gone off in her little head. She wiped her tears and replied, "Yes, Mommy, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel happy. It's okay to feel scared. And it's okay to feel angry." Wondering where she was going with this, I said, "Yes, it is. You are right." I thought to myself, well, at least she embraces her feelings. Then she continued sharing. "Because I am always okay, Mommy. I couldn't help but look at her with the biggest grin on my face. I was so proud of her for recognizing that she was okay regardless of her feelings in the current situation. I responded, yes, no matter how we feel, we are always okay. Where did you learn that, Annalise? She responds, curious, the dragonfly taught me that at your school, remember? My heart was beaming with excitement hearing her say that. I didn't even care about the pee-drenched bed. The pee-drenched bed I had to scrub again. This was music to my ears. Smiling from ear to ear, I hugged her and said, yes, I remember. I'm so proud that you remember too. If we know we are always okay, even in our worst moments, our biggest embarrassments and our heartbreaking experiences, we can be kinder to ourselves and navigate through life with more understanding and compassion for ourselves and for others. Because I saw the truth of this for myself, I realized how important it is for people of all ages to know more about how the mind works and to trust their well-being. I was unsure if my daughter heard anything in those summer classes, but she did, and it brought her more awareness during a stressful time. Raising children can have some very challenging moments, and I'm far from a perfect parent. However, I am proud of Annalisa's realization, and I feel blessed that we can navigate through life together with understanding, compassion, and love during trying moments. We won't always do it perfectly, but we will always be okay. Wow.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yes. I worked with the young man who had encopresis.
Oh, boy.
What's that?
That's number
Encopresis,
two.
when you go number 2 in your pants all the time.
Oh,
Yes. So he was 12 years old when he came to Natchog. And while he was in the program, he continued to poop his pants, and oftentimes he would stain chairs. So all the children would attempt to make fun of him. So he eventually came to see me when he was 15, I think, when I started my private practice. And we came to the real, no one could help him. No one could figure out what that was all about and why he kept doing that, especially at 15 years old. So as we were working together individually, one of his biggest fears was telling the truth about his mother and how his mother was potty training him. His mother was very toxic in training him.
mm,
They had a pretty close relationship, but he would not talk about it with her in her presence because he was so upset and angry with her. But he didn't want to hurt their relationship because they were still pretty close. And he also was on the spectrum. So we finally got to the bottom of it, that that's what was going on, is because she was so toxic and aggressive with him during potty training.
you mean when he was a baby?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes, yes. So
Why
he
was
was
she so
finally able.
aggressive?
She didn't know, like, this was her first kid. She didn't know. She had no idea on how to potty train someone because it was her first and only kid. And plus there was a lot of frustration and confusion because he was on the spectrum. He was a tough kid.
Yeah.
Sweet as pie though. So sweet.
Uh, ah,
So we finally were able to get this all out. He expressed his feelings about his anger and his rage with how she treated him. And they're so close today. He's what? I think he's like 25 years old now. And
uh,
I hear from her on all the time, and they're doing very well. He
Great.
stopped about a year into after treatment. He finally stopped
yeah.
and got control of it. It was such a beautiful experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been a tough childhood, man.
Yeah.
Your
Yes.
peer relationships and everything. Oh gosh.
Yes.
And family, like don't bring him to my house. Don't bring him to Auntie
Right.
Wendy's house. Don't bring him to Grandma's
Oh,
house. Don't bring him to, I mean, really.
Yes. There's only one relative that accepted him, and that was his grandmother.
Mm.
His grandmother
uh,
had, like, also had a lot of love and understanding for both of them, for both her daughter and her grandson. It's
Uh,
just, it's incredible.
all he needed was somebody to listen to him.
Yes.
That's all he needed for, to trust. He trusted you that he could reveal that he was really shaken up by the potty training.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that I was once at Whole Foods and I'm walking to my car in the parking lot and I see the back of a van, an SUV, and a
Yeah.
little girl sitting on it was like a potty.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a potty in the van. I thought,
Yeah.
well, you know, I
Oh, I
just
did
kept
that with my
walking.
kids. Yeah, I did that. I had the portable potty when we would travel, and
Portable
they would use.
potty, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they would use
Yeah.
it. Oh
I
yeah.
used I used one when we were little too, when we would be long car rides. It had a red and white stripe on the outside. I can still see it.
Oh, yes, I still have mine. Mine's white and green.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's so simple, isn't it? It's so simple. It's almost like the encopresis was like nature's way of shouting out that there's something going on here. There's, and it's always something like under the covers
Yes.
of our thinking, right? It's in
Right.
that we just need good listening to, like Mavis Karn says. Everybody needs a good listening to, no matter what age.
Yes.
'Cause those sorts of things are an indication that something is bothering that child. We get a physical reaction, like my
Yes.
feeling out of breath, realizing I'm anxious right now and time to take a deep one. Time to catch my breath. Yeah,
Yes. Yes,
it's so simple.
and that applies to all the childhood diagnoses. It's being able to recognize that there's underlying reasons why a child is ODD, why a child is experiencing adjustment disorder, and so forth. And yes, maybe we can say some of them are hereditary, but is it really, or is it just learned behavior?
Yes. As a way to, self-medicate, sort of, right? Like,
Yes.
how does Bill Pettit describe it? He has such a beautiful description. Wendy may have better words for it, but it's like a love letter from the universe, letting
Yes.
us know, those are Bill Pettit's words, letting us know that there's some thinking we're doing that we don't have to take so seriously. We don't have to take it as the absolute truth.
Rake.
And that allows pretty sweater, as long as I'm talking, I guess. We don't, everybody doesn't see Wendy's sweater as she
Yeah.
walks. That's
Oh,
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, just, a metaphor came to mind, like a tree, which starts at the bottom, the roots
yeah.
are like the root cause of bad behavior that you see showing up in the limbs and the leaves of the tree. All you
Yes.
have to do is hug that tree and you'll be able to hear what's at the root. That child, that person of any age will feel secure and feel safe and be able to say, there's something I'm terrified about how I'm being potty trained or
Yes.
how I was potty
How
trained
I
or
was my trained. Yeah.
Right.
There's something really interesting. You know who Dave and Jenny Elleray are out in the United Kingdom?
yeah.
You know them, right?
I don't know if Elaine does.
I
Yeah.
don't.
Well, basically, Jenny Elleray has been involved with the principals a very long time. And she's married to a guy named Dave Elleray, and they met after both of them discovered the principles and they got married. And there's a bit of drama and story there, but it doesn't matter. But Dave and I, we enjoy one another's company. We find each other funny and silly and whatever. So anyway, when I went to the United Kingdom last summer, I said, I'm going to be in the United Kingdom going to the conference. I'd love to meet up with you guys and say hi. And so they said, oh, come stay with us for the weekend. I was like, what? I mean, this is like George and Linda Pransky saying, come stay with us for the weekend. I was like, huh? So anyway, I did, and that kind of furthered our little connection. But he, for many years, has been a tree surgeon taking care of trees. So
Oh,
I think I have the ability to, okay, can you let me share the screen, Lori?
oops, unmute. I gave you co-host. You
Okay.
should be able to share.
Yeah, and I will let me just put this on pause for a second. And I will share this really cool little video that that was on Instagram. So hold on one second.
You know,
Okay.
well, while you're looking for that, Wendy, do you know that I have a cartoon, an animation of the dragonfly that I can't remember the name of it. The story that Annalise learned from.
Oh yeah,
I'll
Curious
look for
Dragon.
it. I'll post
Yeah.
it in
So it says
our group.
host is disabled sharing.
Not intentionally.
Well,
Huh.
no, I'm sure not, but I'm just letting you know I can't share the screen.
I don't know how that happens. So let's see here. Do. I press some button.
You read my mind.
Make co-host. There you go. Yes.
Okay. Nope. Host is disabled screen sharing. Oh, no, it's
So
all right now.
weird.
It's all right now. Okay. So this is quick, but this was really lovely. Hold on. I'm gonna try to, I don't know if it gets any bigger, but hopefully we can all hear it. You see, it says, my friend told me about this study they did a few years ago. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't, so you'll have to read it. Yeah.
friend told me about this study they did a few years ago where they injected these beautiful redwood
I don't,
trees.
did you share with
chemical
sound, Wendy? You have to share with sound in order for it to come out. You know, that little box with sound.
Yeah, I did.
We are women. We are technicians.
Can you hear it, Elaine?
similar to
Can you
adrenaline.
hear it now?
So that
I
way
can
the
hear
trees
it,
wouldn't
yes.
go
Now
into
I can hear it.
hibernation.
Did you say you could hear it?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to restart it because it's better from the beginning.
Injected these beautiful redwood trees with a chemical similar to adrenaline. So that way the trees wouldn't go into hibernation. And these mighty trees that normally live for hundreds of years died within 1 year because they didn't have a season of wintering. And I think about us humans, the way we expect ourselves to be in constant spring, always blooming, always producing, always distracted, and not making time for those moments with the people we love or those moments with nature. Distraction is the death of art, but boredom is the birthplace of it. My friend told me about this study they did a few years ago where they injected these beautiful redwood trees with a chemical similar to adrenaline, so that way the trees wouldn't go into hibernation. And these mighty trees that normally live for hundreds of years died within 1 year because they didn't have a season of wintering. And I think about us humans, the way we expect ourselves to be in constant spring, always blooming, always producing, always distracted, and not making time for those moments with the people we love or those moments with nature. Distraction is the death of art, but boredom is the birthplace of it.
So I just thought that was lovely. And it says here in the comments, this is a powerful reminder that like trees, we aren't built to operate under constant pressure. Winter is nature's time to slow down, rest, and recharge, an essential part of survival and growth. If we ignore our need for rest, we risk burnout. Take a cue from nature, pause, breathe, and honor the season of stillness.
Yes.
Isn't that lov-
Amen.
Isn't that lovely?
It's lovely,
Beautiful.
and that's why I love winter so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a pause, a giant pause. And I remember I would say the first 8 or 10 months of the pandemic. Then I was a little bit like, all right, this has gone on long enough. But there was something about, okay, everybody stay home. Everybody, don't go to church. I was like, okay. I mean, like the whole thing was just like weird, but then it was like, this is really nice to just slow down. And I made so many friends all over the world in this conversation on Zoom during that time. So many
And I also,
life-changing friendships.
yes. So also be aware that there is an actual book called The Growing Tree. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
book is, yes, it's written by the guy
Yes.
who wrote the, oh,
Shel
Good Night
Silverstein.
Moon.
Shel
Yeah,
Silverstein. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. And that's exactly what the story is all about.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. So isn't that interesting that for some reason somebody thought that it was good for a tree to miss hibernation? No, I don't know why they injected the tree. Maybe they were testing it out, but
Yes,
the adrenaline didn't allow the tree to do its natural path, and it's
yes,
so interesting, right?
yes,
We have we have rhythm, we have an innate health, we have an innate guidance system that if we muck around with it, it doesn't work as well. We're
Mhm.
not listening to the love letters from the universe, right?
Right, right.
Should we, do you want to slip in one more chapter? This one's on conduct disorder. Christopher Wren in the UK. Do you want to, it's only like a page and a half. You want to read,
Sure.
Elaine?
Oh,
129?
sure. Yep. All right, just getting situated. Okay. So, conduct disorder, Christopher Wren, UK. I was sent to a psychiatrist when I was 8 years old. I was a very angry kid, very angry. My mother grew up in the Congo and then came to the UK. My dad died when I was small, so she had to be my mom and dad, and she struggled to bring me up and my 5 siblings. The anger came because other kids made fun of me for not having a dad. Just the word dad would get me so fired up. Someone would say the word dad, and I would see red and start fighting. I fought my school friends, siblings, even teachers. I understand why now, but my mom was always busy taking care of everyone, so I never got the support I needed. If I couldn't let out the anger on other people, I would literally bash my head against the wall. It was like a roller coaster. I didn't have anyone to talk to about how I felt. I have 2 older brothers. One is very book smart, and the other was like everything I saw on TV. I was watching gangster movies and that, and he was doing that behavior, and that was exciting. My straight brother, he was a geek and boring. I had geeky normal friends too, but I gravitated to the streets where I could exercise my anger even more. So the psychiatrist and head teacher sat down with my mom, and they decided I had conduct disorder and ADHD, and I should go to naughty school 2 days a week. I was too much for the school, so I was sent to the Center for Naughty Kids. It was full of kids like me, full of rage and who couldn't sit still and fidget all the time. It was useful. We got to do kayaking and rock climbing, so I got to do things that I wouldn't have, horse riding and lots of things that you don't do at a normal school. So I found some peace there. This all happened just before I went to secondary school. Did it help? Not really, because I still chose a bad path. So I followed my older brother, drugs, robbing, you name it. I probably did it or tried it. I was first arrested at 16 for robbery, but didn't get a sentence. I was given some good advice then. Someone asked me if I could defend something I had robbed, something that wasn't mine in the first place, and I thought no. It made sense to me that I would only defend something that I worked for. I could be more appreciative of something that is mine. So I stopped robbing and started selling drugs. It made sense to me at the time because now I was working and not hurting anyone. But then I got 7 years for armed robbery when I was 18. So I spent most of my teens and early 20s. I had been on cocaine and ecstasy, and the programs inside gave me a better understanding of what drugs can do to you. I was always looking for that next hit. I did courses to better myself. I wanted to get to the root of why I was doing these things. I was always doing the self-blame game and thinking I was going to get a different result. That's madness. NA helped me a little. When I finished, I was 25. I came out and got my driver's license and a relationship, but I couldn't speak about much, so it was hard. I met her in a club, and she wanted that kind of lifestyle, so I slowly got back into it. I was back dibbing and dabbling, and I got caught again. I was back inside. This is when I met Mama J and the Beyond Recovery team. In HM prison, Only, I didn't understand much at first, but my first insight was that when I played football, I was at peace. When I played football, it was like I wasn't imprisoned. It wasn't hard sometimes to focus in groups because I knew I wanted to play football and that was my escape. But then I heard something. I really heard something. I saw that this was my thinking. You see, I used to get really angry when I called someone from prison and they didn't pick up. How dare they? I'm calling.
It's like a lane furrows, so I'll go from here. Then I realized that they are out there living their lives. Their life doesn't stop just because I went to prison. It's so simple, but I saw it. I saw that just because I was calling didn't mean they have to stop everything. I also learned a lot about listening. I always thought I was listening, but I wasn't. It was a bit of a shock to find out I was never listening. That blew me away. I was always going so fast, I would finish other people's sentences even. So these two things intrigued me, and I wanted to know more. I did a peer mentoring program, I did a practitioner program, and then we put on a conference inside the prison. We had speakers come from the public and spoke to all the inmates about the principles. It was nerve-wracking at the time. I had to get up there and speak to them all about the 3 principles and SID banks, but the feedback from the other inmates was like, wow. I won't lie. I thought at the time that people were going to look at me like this and that. Then I saw that this is all in my head. Like before it even happened, it was all going off in my head, right? But after, it was amazing. I enjoyed it. Even inside the prison, I felt free. I was free in prison. I wasn't caught up in my worries anymore. It was nuts. I was still closed up, but I felt free in a confined space, 8 feet by 8 feet, and I was okay. When I came out after 7 years, it really affected me. I had been on one level surface, the ground floor, for so long that if I went up like in a block of flats, I got dizzy. I got a gut-wrenching feeling. I had to hang on to the walls and look down and make sure I was okay. It can still happen, but I know now that it will pass, and I just hang on to the walls till it goes. I've been out for 3 years now, and having the support of Beyond Recovery has made all the difference. Understanding the principles has helped with my day-to-day life. This understanding gave me the confidence to start a property maintenance business, painting, removals, gardening, etc. I'm in a new chapter in my life. I have a son, but his mother won't let me see him, which is hard. They compared me to my brothers, and that would have made me angry, but I'm not that person anymore, so I have to be a dad from afar. If I didn't have this understanding, I think I would have strangled her by now, seriously. Even my book smart brother See, he didn't have a dad around growing up either. And I see how it's affected him with his kids. So I do my best to be a good uncle. I've learned how to show affection, and it's sad to see that he can't. I do what I can to be there for them. I'm not just living for myself anymore. I feel very grounded now. There's no anger now. I know that things that are out of my control will get better. I now see the sacrifices my mother made for me and how much she had to put up with. She was dealing with her own grief and living in a strange country and a different way of life and trying to bring us up on her own. I didn't see it, but now I can see that. I bumped into a friend from inside the other day, and he can't believe who I am now. Now I've really found myself. Woohoo!
Wow.
Yeah. And I'll just add for anybody in the New England area that Beyond Recovery is coming to New England, not with, Jacqueline Hollows as one of the mentors, with our friend, colleague, and somebody who pops on this channel every so often, Stuart Iskowitz in the New York Peace Project, working with inmates in
Yep.
New York. And
Yep.
with all people who are re-entering society, so people coming back from war, etc. You want to say anything about the chapter, Wendy, before I stop the
Yeah, no,
recording?
it's just so wonderful to hear people just really get unlocked from this solid thinking like, oh, I'm a drug dealer. That's what I do. And I hope to not get caught again. But just sort of like this, sort of like, wait a minute. And that sense of freedom, even though he's in a confined place and he doesn't have free will to come and go as he wants, he still felt a weight lifted, a freedom. It's just lovely. It's just lovely.
I think you might have heard me say this before, that I remember a video when Kathy Casey was doing a graduation ceremony for a bunch of guys at a Santa Clara penitentiary, and they're all in their orange. And one of them stands up and I can't believe, I start crying every time I tell this story. It's so amazing to me. I mean, it's been years that I've been aware of this story. So he stands up, Wendy, and he says, I can't believe I found my freedom in prison, freedom from my own thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't know that that's where the bars were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
Right. We can
Yeah, I
be
know
free out of
I think I've
out of
seen
jail.
that video, but I don't know where. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you very much for
Yeah.
hosting this. And next week, we're going to see Hannah Studley, the author of the book. She's going to answer questions for us, so that'll be great.
Yeah, I'll send out a Q&A. Yeah, a Q&A advertisement in
announcement.
Facebook.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting her, Wendy.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Be
Bye.
good. Have a great week. See you Tuesday.